very good evening and a very warm welcome to State of Business on our television. I am Savindri Jayawardena. Let's look at the top stories for the day. Ministers of the new government assume duties today. WHO stresses the need of empowering the youth in political decision making. News in detail. Government received bouquets and brickbats for the new state ministerial portfolios with the swearing ceremony of the state ministers, which was held in Kandy yesterday. However, assuming the duties as the Minister of Mass Media, Kelly Rambukwale, today clarified that state ministerial portfolios are allocated to meet specific targets and to promote the export-led growth of the country. While the President's office said that composition of the cabinet has been formulated in a pragmatic and realistic manner to implement the national program in keeping with the Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor policy statement, many showed mixed opinions on the choice of portfolios for some state ministers. Thus, for an example, former Finance Minister Mangala Samaravira has tweeted that subjects of state ministers are hilarious. Nevertheless, assuming duties as the Minister of Mass Media today morning, Keheliya Rambukwal explained the logic behind allocated specific state ministerial portfolios.
සමහරක් අය මම දැක්ක අපේ මහත්මියම සහෝදරයන් ප්‍රශ්න කරලා තිබ්බා මේ විවිධ විෂයන් සම්බන්ධව. විෂයබද්ධ රාජ්‍ය අමාත්‍යවරුන් කියන්නේ ඉලක්ක සහගත රාජ්‍ය අමාත්‍යවරු. මේ රටේ ඉදිරි වැඩපිළිවෙලට ආර්ථිකය ගොඩනගන්නට කරුණු දෙකක් වැදගත් වෙනවා. එක ආයෝජනයන් ගෙනීම පළවෙනි දේ. තවදුරටත් ණය ගන්න පුළුවන් නෙමේ ආයෝජකයන් ලබා ගත යුතුයි. දෙවැනි කරුණ තමයි දේශීය වැඩපිළිවෙල ප්‍රබලව ඉදිරියට ගොස් අපනයන වෙළඳපොළක් නිර්මාණය කළ යුතුමයි. ඒ නිසාම තමයි රාජ්‍ය අමාත්‍යවරුන්ට බොහොම පැහැදිලි විෂයන් විෂයබද්ධව ඉලක්ක අය විෂය ගැන කතා කරනකොට ඒ විෂය මොකක්ද කියලා. උදාහරණයකට ගත්තොත් බුලත් කියවම ලෝකේ විශාල ඉල්ලුමක් තියෙනවා. පාකිස්තානයේ එහෙම විශාල ඉල්ලුමක් තියෙන ඉල්ලුමට සැපෙවම නැහැ අපේ. ඒකට අපි දෙන්නේ ටිකක් පොඩි අව탁සේරුවක් දෙනවා. හැබැයි ඒ වැඩපිළිවෙල ශක්තිමත්ව ඉදිරියට ගෙනිච්චොත් අපිට අපනයන ක්ෂේත්‍රයේ යම් ඉඩක් අපිට ලැබෙනවා.
Responding to the queries of the media personnel, the newly appointed Minister of Mass Media, Keheliya Rambukwal, further added that people have shown their consent to amend the constitution by providing the SLPP-backed government the two-thirds parliamentary majority.
අපේ මැතිවරණ ප්‍රකාශනයේ පැහැදිලිව කිව්වා අලුත් ව්‍යවස්ථාවක් සම්බන්ධව. ඒකට ජනතාව වරමක් දීලා තියෙනවා. සුළුපටු වරමක් නෙමෙයි තුනෙන් දෙකක වරමක් දීලා තියෙනවා. මොකද අපි ඉල්ලුවා මේ ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ යම් යම් අඩුපාඩු තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ඒවා පැලැස්තර නෙමෙයි ස්ථිරසාර විසඳුමක් දෙන්නයි කියලා ඒකට ජනතාව අපිට දීලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ජනතා පරමාධිපත්‍ය ගැන අපි කතා කරනවා නම් ජනතා පරමාධිපත්‍ය තුලම ව්‍යවස්ථාව ඉල්ලීම සම්බන්ධව සහතිකයක් වුණ අපිට දීලා තියෙනවා. ඒ සහතිකය ඉෂ්ට කිරීමේ වගකීම අපිට තියෙනවා.
In the meantime, newly appointed Minister of Labour, Nimal Sirpal De Silva, highlights that government aims to send more skilled workers for foreign employment, providing them with vocational training and skills. He made these observations today morning, assuming duties as the Minister of Labour.
The Foreign Employment Bureau must be made a very more vibrant and viable institution, whereby we can earn more foreign exchange and in the same time do social justice to the families of the immigrant workers who are working abroad. Their welfare, their children's education, all that has to be looked after by the government. So therefore, we will be embarking upon several projects to ensure that the social justice is given to that segment of the society also. The vision of His Excellency Gotabaya Rajapaksa is to tie up the foreign employment with vocational training. So we will be embarking upon such programs together with the education facilities for foreign languages and skill development, and thereafter to ensure that the foreign employment will be secured not only as housemaids but in the skill areas, so that we can earn more foreign exchange to our country, and that is my vision also.
Stay tuned for more news right after this break. Welcome back after the break. The National Election Commission calls all elected parliamentarians to hand over their asset declarations to help evolve a transparent and accountable political culture. Accordingly, the Election Commission states that in terms of the provisions of the Declaration of Assets and Liabilities Law, all candidates elected as members of Parliament should make a declaration of his or her assets and liabilities as at the date of his or her nomination to the Election Commission directly or through the returning officer of the district where he or she contested as a candidate. Commission says that it is therefore essential that all elected or appointed members of Parliament who has failed to make the declaration of their assets and liabilities during the nomination period or thereafter before the polling date should make the declaration of their assets and liabilities immediately to the Election Commission directly or through the respective returning officers. Also, it is notified that the unsuccessful candidates should make their declarations of assets and liabilities on or before September 6, before the expiry of a period of 1 month after the date of declaration of elected members of Parliament upon the announcement of election results on August 7 to the Election Commission directly or through the respective returning officer if they have not made their declarations of assets and liabilities until now. It is further notified that any candidate who fails to make the declaration of assets and liabilities will be treated as guilty of the offence of violating provisions of the Declaration of Assets and Liabilities Law and will be reported to the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruptions. World Health Organization calls the governments to empower young people in political decision-making, especially since the engagement of youngsters is essential as we confront the health challenges of today and the future. WHO Chief Dr. Ghebreyesus made these observations joining a webinar in view of the International Youth Day 2020, which was held yesterday under the theme of Youth Engagement for Global Action.
This pandemic is having a major impact on the future of young adults, not just from the virus itself, but because of its impacts on the economy, employment, education, and the overall health system. I will leave you with three requests. First, I would like to call on organizations, institutions, and governments to listen, engage, and empower young adults as partners in action. Our future is their future. Second, we have to give young people a much larger role in political decision-making. Their voices often go unheard, even though more than half of the world's population is under 35 years old. The engagement of young people is essential as we confront the health challenges of today and the future. Finally, and most importantly, to young adults around the world, I say, think big and be bold. We count on you for your creativity and your fresh ideas. Your voice and engagement are needed more than ever, particularly as the world responds to this unprecedented crisis.
Addiction to drugs, substances, or anything is a complex disease which causes serious damage to families' relationships, education strides, workplaces, and neighborhoods. That was revealed by a panel of experts during yesterday's Art Talk Walk program aired by Art Television.
There is a gap in the amount of knowledge being given to new parents, shared with the new parents, because it's they struggle with their own lives. You know, the lives are becoming harder and harder. Absolutely, with the financial difficulty, competitiveness, you know, the all sort of things coming.
Job security.
Job security. So it's the worldwide thing. I think it's a worldwide thing where the lives are becoming harder, families becoming more restricted. You know, the support systems are getting collapsed. So the people, invariably the children are affected and the lives becoming more mechanical. This is actually, even I would say, with my experience, this is common in other parts of the world also. Strengthening parents, strengthening parental well-being, so they would be, you know, in a best position to help their children. Then strengthening children and their ability to cope, rather than finding fault or blaming them and seeing it as a kind of a moral failure. See that it has a lack of skill. There are ways to enhance your well-being. without the help of anything, any outside force. You don't need it. All these stupid theories about, you know, pleasure deriving from external world, the pleasure deriving from something, you know, it's been created to make you hooked to something. You know, there is a financial monetary gain behind that. And especially the people who, you know, the world is very complex when it comes to substance, especially people who seems to be advocating against it. You know, there are certain ulterior motives behind that. Sometimes you don't see it, it comes as a disguise. You go and this is their newest weapon, you know, take up. How to take control of the anti-tobacco movement, or how to take control of anti-cannabis movement by, you know,
feeding it.
And
by
even like-
being a representative, like, you know, like by being an advocate against it.
Stay tuned for stock updates right after this break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The All-Share Price Index gained 15.4 points to close at 5,235.61, and the S&P SL20 gained 19.92 points to close at 2,297.12. The turnover was 1.9 billion rupees and over 63 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. That's all news for today. See you tomorrow with State of Business at 7:45 p.m. Until then, take care. Good night.